So DHCP is just a way for devices to get IP addresses. So we're just going to go over how we get that configured on a Windows server. Now, DHCP is actually something that's usually handled by something like your home router, and we are just moving that feature over to a server for your server to actually handle it. This is typically done for a business case scenario or a HomeLab if you just want to get DHCP up and running. But after you have Windows Server installed, the first thing you're going to go to is manage and then add roles and features. And this is the menu that we are just going to go through, and I'll show you that here. Go ahead and find DHCP, click it, add features, and just shuffle through these next options until you get to install. Once the install completes, go ahead and hit this option, next, commit. There's not much you need to do here. And go ahead and close. Now that's it. That's just to get the actual feature installed on the server. Now we're just going to go ahead and create a scope. So you're going to go into Tools, DHCP, Configure, go into IPv4. And you're going to right click, New Scope. And we're just going to go through this menu and create the scope. Now this is going to be the starting IP address, which means the first address that the scope will actually start with and start handing out. So we're going to start with 192.168.1.150, and our end address will just be 200. And we're going to start with this. So this is for exclusions. We're not going to deal with that right now. An exclusion would just mean that your DHCP will not do a specific range, typically for static IP addressing. So we can go ahead and hit next. Yes, we want to configure the options, and this will be your router. Most home routers will usually be 168.1.1. So that's what mine is. If you don't know yours, you can open up command prompt. Type in ipconfig/all, and it's going to be your default gateway. Now we're just going to hit next. We can hit next again. Win server is not something that we will do, and then we will activate. Now you can see here the scope will have a drop down, will have all these options. And here's our address pool. It'll tell you the range. Now, the reason I actually did .150 to 200 is because my home router does a .50 to .100. And that means if I put it lower, that there'll be a conflict on the DHCP servers, and it's not something we want to do. I will also be turning off my home router's DHCP servers so we can test it here on a machine. So I'm going through this really quickly to create a new VM. We'll name the virtual machine Goku. Create my image. This is a Windows 10 ISO, I believe. And then we just go through these settings. We're going to keep most of this stuff on default and spin this up. I'm going to go through the Windows setup, and then I'll get back to you once this computer is up and running. Now that we got our computer up, we're going to check out the IP configuration. So we can go ahead and open up command prompt, type in ipconfig/all, and we can see our DHCP server is actually our home router, and the home router gave this device this address. So of course this is out of the scope of the DHCP server we just set up. So the idea here is to just turn off the home router DHCP server, because typically 2 in one environment is not a good thing. It'll cause a whole bunch of issues because there'll be conflicts between the two scopes. The only exception to this really is if you have DHCP failover for one of the DHCP servers, but we are not doing that today. And I'll show you guys really quick. If I go into my home router and find the DHCP settings, we can see an on-off switch. We're gonna just turn it off. That didn't do anything, so we're going to turn it off and hit save. And that turns off my home router's DHCP server. So now we can do a command to release renew, and all that's doing is going to drop our current IP address configuration by doing our release command. And then the renew command will get a new IP address. And this is going to take the IP address from my DHCP server that we set up together. And that's really it. As you can see right here, the IP address starts with a .50, and I can show you really quick our domain controller, our scope here. The address starts with 150, so I got the very first address in this list. And that's it for the quick DHCP video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Thank you very much.